How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to Set 6, and today we're going to be talking about something a little bit different. We've not spoke about this for a while on the channel, in fact about 3 years, and that's going to be like straight up predictions for Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. So about 3 years ago, pretty much to the day actually, I released a video that was 10 predictions for Final Fantasy VII Remake Part 2, as we were calling it then. None of this Rebirth business, no, Part 2. And the fact that we're about 6 months away from the game releasing now kind of got me thinking, so I had a look back over that video, and I think I can change it up a little bit. I want to talk about the predictions that I made then briefly, and then we're going to talk about some predictions that I would make now. I'm probably going to do 7 of them because, 7, best number, but this is going to be something that I do now, and then in about 5 months' time, when we've had all the trailers, we're going to revisit it one more time. I just feel like it'd be a good idea, get some predictions out there now, and then kind of see where we sit on them in January, maybe February, something like that. Don't forget, hit like on the video, subscribe for future content, because we've got loads more Rebirth stuff coming in the future, but let's crack on with it. So like I say, I'm just going to really briefly go over the predictions that I've already made. Some of them were just pretty obvious things that we know that they're going to happen. So for example, there'll be an overworld like FF15 with big areas that we can explore, and then you're going to transfer between the areas. That's obviously what's going to happen. It was always obviously what we're going to get. I don't think we're going to get an overworld like in Final Fantasy VII that we can fly around and go anywhere. It'll be zone to zone, but the zones will be big. Another one that was in there in this predictions video that I'm quite proud of actually, was that Yuffie and Vincent were not going to be optional. Now that's obvious, that was always going to be the case. But this was before the intermission DLC had come out, I believe, or even been announced or anything. And I was talking about Dirge of Cerberus content being incorporated, things like that, for things like Vincent's backstory and world building, etc. So I'm quite happy with that. I'm counting that one as one that I got correct. Yeah, but no, that one's not going to be in here now, that one's done. Another really obvious one was that the Gold Saucer will be expanded. Of course the Gold Saucer is going to be expanded. Obviously. So yeah, I'm going to drop that one. So we're gonna refresh some of these. We're going to talk about some of these ones that I've already made in the past. Maybe flesh them out a little bit more, discuss them in the context of things that we've already seen. And then on top of that, there's going to be 1 or 2 new ones. So let's get started with the 7 predictions for Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, Part 2. So the first prediction in this video is one that I'm definitely going to keep from the previous video, and it's that we're going to see some kind of a new area, something that we've not seen before, something that maybe we've seen in the compilation, but something that definitely was not a part of Final Fantasy VII originally, and I think there's a pretty big chance this will happen. In the previous video, when I spoke about this area, I speculated that Gongaga would be a good shout for like an underground facility, similar to the way that we had the underground facility underneath Sector 7. It could definitely tie into Hojo and his kind of dodginess and all the little experimentations that he ran all over the place, and it could definitely give an explanation as to why the Gongaga reactor went boom. That is something that we've never had, and it would be a good way for them to expand the story of Gongaga while weaving it into the overall narrative of the game, Shinra, the Genova Project, Soldier, all that sort of business. So yeah, that feels like the winner for me. There are obviously other places, like there are places that were destroyed in Crisis Core that we could potentially revisit and find. We won't find much, but we'll find something potentially. There are a lot of places that, we could get additional areas, additional little side dungeons and things like that. So keep an eye out for that. That's definitely something that I think is going to happen. Like, this one is like 100% certain in my mind. Not necessarily Gongaga, but that we'll get something somewhere, like a new area. Now, the next prediction that I'm going to make is also one that I made previously in the video. I like the consistency in my thought process. I like the way that I've kind of kept a degree of consistency. But yeah, this prediction is that the weapons are going to rise early. So in the original Final Fantasy VII, we don't see the weapons until like probably about halfway through the overall narrative. After the end of Disc 1, we're deep into the game by that point. Now, it all depends on how far we get into this story and how different this story turns out actually being. But I do feel that we're going to see the weapons rise early. The weapons are all about protecting the planet. They were created to defeat Genova pretty much. So I get the feeling that we'll be seeing the weapons. Also, you've got to think as well, we're probably going to see more of a deep dive into Chaos, who's technically counted as a partial weapon, maybe not a full weapon, but sort of. If we do that, Omega's going to become more of a thing. That's a weapon. So yeah, There are various avenues for this kind of prediction to come through, that we will see the weapons early, that we will see them in Rebirth. I 100% feel that we will see the weapons in Rebirth. Not too sure which ones, but at least one or two of them. We will definitely see weapons in Rebirth. Don't forget as well, you can leave your predictions in the comments below. You can tell me that I'm full of shit and that my predictions are rubbish. Let me know in the comments below what you're thinking. Try and leave 3 predictions in the comments below for Rebirth. 3 things that you think are definitely going to happen. Let me know what you're thinking. But anyway, I'm going to carry on. Now the next prediction, the third prediction, this is another one from that previous video, and it's the belief that we've kind of got 2 entities that are Sephiroth at the minute. So you've got the Sephiroth that would be native to this timeline, which is the Genova puppet. It's Sephiroth's will kind of carrying a Genova puppet around basically. But then on top of that, we've also got this, I don't think, he's not time travelled physically or anything like that, but he's definitely used the live stream to send his consciousness back in order to manipulate events. And I think Rebirth is going to be about Sephiroth's consciousness being reborn. That's kind of the goal for Sephiroth at the minute, I think. So if I am right, and we do have 2 separate consciousnesses that are Sephiroth, one from the now and one from the distant future that's already kind of been through all of this, at some point, the one from the distant future is going to want to take complete charge, which means he's probably going to need to get rid of the older, native to this time frame, Sephiroth. Time frame. Yeah, that's what we'll say. So I do believe that at some point we will see some sort of Sephiroth on Sephiroth action. Oh god, I've just sent certain parts of the fandom into some sort of giddy thirst. Stop it. What I mean is we're going to see that future Sephiroth kind of look to take full control, and we might see a Sephiroth versus Sephiroth fight. I'm less convinced on this one than the previous 2. The previous 2, I'm pretty much 100% they're both going to happen. This one, it kind of depends on a few things. Our knowledge of Sephiroth at the moment and the state that he's in may not be correct. Therefore, we might not have the possibility of seeing Sephiroth versus Sephiroth. It relies on a few things, but I think it's an interesting one to put out there. I felt good about it then. I still kind of feel good about it now. We'll see how it pans out. And that brings us to the midway point, the 4th prediction, and that is that Cosmo Canyon and Bugenhagen are going to be a lot more important in this story than they were in the OG, which is going to be saying a lot, because in the original game, Bugenhagen was pretty instrumental in a lot of things that happened, as far as, finding the key to the Ancients and stuff like that. Bugenhagen kind of guided us through that, showing us what was going on with Aerith and what was going on with Holy, all that sort of business. So yeah, Bugenhagen was a pretty big character in the original game. I've got a gut feeling that he's going to be much more important in Rebirth and beyond. And the fact that they've showed him to us so early in this first trailer kind of reinforces that belief for me a little bit. It kind of makes me think, oh, maybe he is going to be much more important. Now, I said this in the previous predictions video, and I've kind of stuck with it. I feel like Bugenhagen's got a connection to the planet that most people don't have in the Final Fantasy VII universe. So with everything that's been going on, he will have realised, he might not have realised exactly what's happening, but you will have realised at the very least that something is wrong, that the planet is in an extreme state of turmoil. He might even be able to perceive what happened at Midgar with the singularity and the weird kind of, I almost want to say merging of a timeline or correcting of the timeline that the whispers and the singularity and everything like that causes. I've got a feeling that Bugenhagen's going to have something very important to say regarding everything that's gone on and what the party should kind of do going forwards. It definitely feels that way to me, and like I say, the fact they've shown Bugenhagen to us so early, when there are other things that they could have showed us. They could have just showed us Cosmo Canyon. They could have showed us the variety of places that come before Cosmo Canyon, like Gongaga, like the Gold Saucer, like Corel, like Costa del Sol, like Junon. And I mean, they do show us bits of some of them, but they focused on showing us Bugenhagen and that conversation in the planetarium. So, yeah, I've got a feeling that something big's going to go down there. Let me know what you're thinking about that one. Remember, 3 predictions. But now we're going to step in to the final 3, and these are the big 3. These are the ones that could cause a bit of contention. These are the ones that people might not be happy about. These are the ones that people might be ecstatic about. It depends. But these are the big 3. So the first one of the big 3, Aerith's going to live. Whether it's going to be a survival that sticks until the very end of the whole remake project, so at the end of part 3, I'm not too sure. But as far as Aerith getting to the City of the Ancients and getting killed by Sephiroth in the manner that she does in the original game, that's not going to happen. I genuinely do not think that's going to happen. It might bait and switch us a bit, let us go through those events leading up to that scene, and then just stop it at that moment. But yeah, I can't see Aerith getting killed for a multitude of reasons. If Sephiroth's trying to change the way things went, that is one of the ways to change how things go. Plus, if everyone's kind of seeing these future memories that they've seen, that's going to give them a reason to kind of, oh wait, I remember this place, isn't that this the place where the thing happened? Nope, Aerith, you're not going in there. Even if Aerith herself has seen how this panned out and kind of thinks, right, we need to change that. Because it's the party that's pushing to change destiny. Granted, they've been goaded into it essentially by Sephiroth, but it is the party that's pushing to do this. So if they're trying to change destiny and Aerith knows that that's coming, that might be something she endeavours to change. Or at the very least, the party will endeavour to change. Like I say, doesn't necessarily mean it's not going to happen at any point. I think by the time we reach the very end of the Final Fantasy VII Remake project, it may still happen. But I don't think it's going to happen where it happened, when it happens, and how it happens in the OG. I don't think any of that's going to stick. Let me know which way you think that one's going to go, because it's a bit of a contentious one, that. But let's move on to the next two, the final two. And the first one of these final two is that at some point, for some duration of time, during Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, we will lose Cloud. Don't know how long for, don't think it will be permanent, pretty confident it won't be permanent, but for some period of time, we will lose Cloud to Sephiroth. That's something that looks like it's going to happen. And this one isn't one that was in the previous video. This is something that's kind of started to look more and more likely over the course of like the last 2 years. And it really culminated in the most recent trailer, where we see the shot of Cloud in the reunion cloak. Yeah. Like the first trailer really kicked it up a notch for me. Well, I say trailer, but you know the little peek that we got where it just shows Cloud and Zack walking toward Midgar, and Cloud and Sephiroth walking towards Mount Nebel. I was adamant that that shot of Cloud and Sephiroth walking towards Mount Nebel is not the flashback. And more things are just making me think that. I could be wrong. I could very easily be wrong, but more things keep suggesting this to me. So yeah, I've got the feeling that we are going to lose Cloud, at least for some period of the game. Which then leads into the final prediction, and the final prediction is a bit of an expansion on something that I've already predicted. So initially I predicted that we will definitely control Zack fair, because what's the point in putting Zack in the game if we don't get to control him? Like literally, what is the point? So yeah, that's going to happen. But originally I was kind of predicting it to be very much like in Final Fantasy VIII, where, Squall passes out and the perspective shifts to Laguna, and we're then in control of Laguna. It's starting to look very much like at some point we will not only control Zack, but that Zack will potentially catch up with the team, and I think that will happen that will coincide with Cloud going. It could even trigger it, like Zack turning up and catching up with the party and being like, oh shit, what's going on here, Cloud, what? Cloud would then obviously lose that facade that he's built, that mental block that he's kind of built up for himself. That would crumble, and he would then just remember everything, and it'd probably break him. And that will probably be the moment where Sephiroth just kind of swoops in and goes yoink and takes him. Like, it wouldn't shock me if Sephiroth helps Zack to catch up to the party. Just specifically so that he can watch what happens and then swoop in and capitalise on it afterwards. That's what it feels like to me. Which means that Zack will probably end up taking the place of Cloud for a chunk of the game. Now, whether or not that will pass into Part 3 or not, like, I get the feeling we'll probably finish Part 2 without Cloud still. But then at some point in Part 3 we'll get him back and maybe lose Zack. I don't know. I feel like they're doing some weird stuff though. Like, we've seen loads of stuff, like with the billboards in Japan and stuff like that. Like, the Cloud and Zack parallels are just there for everyone to see anyway when you play the game and you know the story and everything. And yeah, it kind of feels like we could see Cloud go to the dark side, or at the very least lose control and lose the ability to resist Sephiroth. I don't think we'll end up with an evil Cloud. I think we'll end up with a puppet Cloud. I think that's what we end up with. And when that happens, we're going to need someone to replace him in the party, and that's going to be Zack. A lot of people don't like this one. I don't think I like this one, because like, I've always been a big Cloud is the story of Final Fantasy VII. We are Cloud. When we play Final Fantasy VII, we are Cloud. So, yeah. Replacing Cloud with Zack, who In my opinion, he's a good character, but he's not as good a character as Cloud. He always felt like that. He always felt like a lesser version of Cloud, in my opinion. So to lose Cloud and then replace him with Zack, it upsets me a little bit. But I think it's going to be done for a narrative purpose. And at some point we will get Cloud back. And it will be like in the original Final Fantasy VII, once Cloud kind of gets his memory pieced back together and realises that he's a real boy, thanks to Tifa. That's going to be the Cloud that we get back, that confident, powerful, I know who I am, I know what I am, and I know what I need to do. That's the Cloud that we're going to get back. And I'm looking forwards to that. It's going to be like Cloud at his lowest, so that he can be then at his highest. I'm up for it, I'm up for it. But yeah, that's my 7 predictions at the minute for Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. When we've got the next 2 or 3 trailers out of the way, because I'm reasonably confident we've got at least 2, maybe 3 trailers coming over the next 6 months. Once we get to back end of January, we're going to relook at these predictions. I'm going to try and make some different ones. We'll probably have had that forced upon us by the trailers, so we'll see. But I just want to try and get one out now while there's only one proper trailer still out there. Don't forget, drop your predictions in the comments below. At least 3, do 7 if you want, but try and drop at least 3 predictions in the comments below for what you think is going to happen in Rebirth. But yeah, that's going to be the end of this video, so don't forget, like and sub for future content, help the channel grow. But more importantly than all of that, have a great day.